Hello, my beautiful, powerful, everyday women of the world. Welcome to the Startup Stories podcast, where the ambitious, everyday woman is heard, held, and served in life and in business. I'm your host, Mia Frankel, the everydayest, everyday women's coach for living a peaceful and productive life. In this podcast, you'll hear relatable stories to keep you sane, grounded, and growing as you expand and deliver your purpose to the world in no fluff, authentic conversations. There will be insights and tips to normalize your journey, and Chanda will especially appreciate this, kick your butt into action. So today, my guest is the incredible, the powerful, the driven and achieved Chanda Coston, who comes to us willing, vulnerable, and earnest to share her message and share her story so that you are encouraged on your journey and have some practical steps to follow. Um, because both her and I believe deeply that we should be taking mission advancing action every day. Every day. There are things that we can do, and there are ways to help us build a support around us, even as a team of one, even as a startup woman in business, to create a business that serves you so that you can serve others. So, Chanda has steel and soul. You guys, this is such a beautiful combination of words that I feel really mirrors and pulls out your energy. As a retired US Navy veteran, you've now evolved into a business strategist and you mentor women over 40 who are ready to turn their businesses from ideas into impact, income, and growth. Chanda built systems while in the Navy that saved the US Navy, you guys, $24 million. Like I don't even know what to do with that. I don't even know what that means over 20 years. It's amazing. Sounds fancy, sounds big, and it is. It is. But listeners know, you're going to learn this about me, Chanda, that it's not the paper resume that we care about. It's the woman behind it. We want to know who you are, what your journey's been, what you've been through, and who you've chosen to be as a result. Because we all have sticky life stories that can bring us to despair or abundance or peace or, a number of different things. And that's going to be part of the story that we dive into today as we watch your evolution that got you to where you are now, where you've got this beautiful business with some signature programs of Build to Blueprint and the Momentum Mastery Collective, and really helping women over 40 get organized, get clear, and get moving, right? Yeah, beautiful. So, welcome to the show. And let's just dive into this gorgeous
Yeah, excited.
conversation and wisdom that's going to come out.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here. I think it's going to be amazing because I've had quite the journey and I don't mind sharing all the details. So, where would you like me to start? Should we start at the beginning?
Yeah, well, I mean, on your website, you talk about early motherhood. You use some like big poverty, like and domestic abuse. So this
Yeah.
sounds like a tumultuous, chaotic, uncomfortable place of origin that may
Yeah.
help somebody today.
It did. It started that way. So much. So I'll start with my military journey, which is kind of how I almost ended up here. It's a few
Okay.
more twists and turns, but we'll start there. Um, I entered the military as a mom of three beautiful girls because I was in an abusive marriage. And I, at the time, I just knew I had to do something because they needed stability and they
Mhm.
needed a home. And I knew at the point that my youngest was only a few months old that I could not stay anymore. To be very, very frank, I had just had my youngest daughter and I was sick after I had her, and he had threatened to kill her. And as a mom, your first inclination is like claws are out,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Even with me not feeling well. And I knew in that moment, like I had to get out of the situation or else. And so
Yeah.
I started hiding weapons around the house and planning my escape.
Right.
And so, long story short, a few months, she got in a few months, and I left. And left, he still we met up, and he beat me up like after that. And I stayed with family and all of the things, and I was like, okay, I got to do something. And I went to a recruiter because they had tried to recruit me before, and
Mhm.
I said, I think it's time. I think I'm ready. And, they told me they would let me go to school, which is what I wanted to do. I was a high school dropout who had gotten a GED.
Mhm.
And I was in community college during that marriage. And one semester it'd be good. The next semester we'd fight because he would assume that I was dating the professor or somebody at the school. And so it was just this fight constantly of my life just to have something. And so I went into the military. And in the military, I found stability and I found, a place that would allow me to provide benefits for my children and a home for my children. I bought my first home there. And when I was active duty, I got my undergrad. So I got my associates and my bachelor's while I was active duty.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and that was the first pivot, right? From domestic violence, into being a single mom, into the military.
Yeah.
And then I came out and I was like, I think I want to be home with my children. I want to be more present.
Mhm.
And so then I went into corporate. Um,
Okay.
and that gave me a bit more knowledge around that professional space. So military gave me the stability, the discipline, the structure,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
let's get to it, right? That perseverance and tenacity.
Well, and
Uh,
probably like helped you rebuild your identity anchored into something else, right? From
Absolutely.
leaving
Yeah.
abusive to being independent and getting educated. Like that must have had such meaning for you to really flip the script so dramatically on your
Yeah.
own.
It did. When you said it, the reason I laughed a little bit is because when you said it, it was like a new identity, G.I. Jane came to mind.
Yeah, did you shave your head?
I'm close to it sometimes. You could be surprised if you see the pictures, but definitely a time of transition and building that self-trust,
Yeah,
right? Not quite out of survival mode, still very
yeah.
reactive, but definitely in a much better place.
Mhm.
Because I think there's layers to us, right?
And having some community around you to see you and,
Yeah.
treat you with honor and
Oh, yeah.
dignity. And was there a bit of a healing journey through that time too for your soul to recalibrate?
Yeah, not as in depth as I would like.
Yeah,
'Cause at that point I was still kind of a little bit ashamed, right? It's
yeah.
like, how did I let this happen? There's the glory of I was able to remove my children from this, and they
Hmm.
didn't have to grow up with the screaming and the fighting, right?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
get to have a safe place, and there was a pride in me providing that. I definitely thrived in the military and took pride in my job and what I did. And so it was like, okay, now I get to shine, I get to show up, I get to
Mhm.
establish myself in this
Yeah,
place. And so that was all good, definitely.
yeah.
But
And
just
then
life after
landing
that.
that corporate job after coming out of the military and, entering the workforce now. So, what version of you started to appear at that time?
Well, the second version of G.I. Jane.
Okay.
Definitely showing up in this space, ready to kick butts and take names and
Mhm.
thrive and prove myself and all of the things. I landed my first position with Deloitte, which is a big deal for me, right? Because I had no clue what I was walking into coming out of the military. And it was such a blessing
Mhm.
um, to be able to step into the top three. Um, yeah, as a consulting firm. And I don't take it for granted, right?
Mhm.
So coming into that space with creme de la creme Ivy League, and I was a high school dropout who ran from an abusive marriage as a single mom. It was just like, whoa. But it was also, again, shaping.
Mhm.
Um, I took it as the next challenge, like, okay, I'm in this space. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to thrive. And from there, I went to government service. Um, and that's where I saved the government $24 million
Yeah.
as a program manager. I
Okay.
was managing the fleet's obsolescence as a logistics
Um,
program manager.
okay.
Um, and so that military experience,
Hmm.
there was a return on investment for that time.
Hmm.
Um, and then I decided I wanted to be an entrepreneur and I wanted to go back into government contracting, and I did it as an independent contractor for myself.
Okay.
And so it was the same time that happened that my brother died, and
Mhm.
he was murdered. And so it kind of jolted me.
Yeah.
And I realized that I'm really good at what I do, but this is going to be my legacy and what kind of impact am I making? And so I started my nonprofit. And that's why I actually dipped my toe into teaching and coaching and mentoring in the community.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to see what this looks like. And so I started taking some coaching programs, some good, some bad.
Mhm. Yeah. Right.
And, and during those programs, my peers would say, can you mentor me? Can you coach me? Like, how are you getting this stuff done? And I
Mhm.
was thinking, like, I'm not set up for that. I'm working, working, working as a consultant, mission. The next project, like, what's on the
Mhm.
table? It's always shifting priorities, but there was no fulfillment. And I
Okay.
said, well, I think I'm going to do coaching. So I started looking at how to flesh that out.
Okay.
And that's what brought me here. It's and I thought initially, it's like, I'll just go be a strategist. Like, people need strategy. Everybody needs a strategy.
Sure.
But as I began to work with the people, what I realized is that the mindset component was what they needed. They
Hmm.
did need a strategy, right? Because he doesn't need you to get rid of their fluff,
Yeah.
quiet
Yeah.
the noise, right? But they needed the confidence, they needed the support, they needed the accountability, they needed to help destroying those limiting beliefs,
Hmm.
um, more than they needed the strategy.
Yeah. This is like the evolution from the military, right? I'm assuming teaching a lot of strategy and execution, but not really looking at the person behind it. And the technical skills rise, but the
Yeah.
personal skills less so. And so combining that with feminine energy and
Mhm.
survivor energy to then really empower. So this probably started to help that deeper healing cycle with yourself too, and come into like kind of the illustration I'm feeling is sort of half of you is very much action, action, action. So masculine energy. And then all of a sudden, it's like you turned your head for the first time and saw this whole other side that
Yeah.
existed in you, and that can be applied outwardly.
Yeah.
So, question about then the coaching programs, like, did you choose to get certified in one, or did you? Yeah, great, thank you. Because I got asked this just the other day, are you like a certified life coach? And I'm like, well, I mean, I could have my own university for the
For life,
stuff
right?
that I've
Lived experience.
invested and like, the time I've spent in these programs. But this is the thing. I want the listeners to know we have freedom and permission that we can claim our calling as a
Mhm.
life coach without a certain certificate having to be on the wall. But that also comes with great care and responsibility, to be a good steward of using that with other people and not to use it in a manipulative way or in a self-serving way, that you're truly showing up for folks who need what you
Absolutely.
have and need to be seen and have life breathed into them.
Yeah, for sure. Now, the reason I designed my program the way I did was because of the bad experiences I had in the coaching
Mhm.
space. And totally understanding, like, I don't want anyone to experience me, to use their resources to come into my space and they walk away with a bad taste in their mouth. And
Mhm.
so integrity for me is I want to show up authentically as myself and give you permission to do so. And when you walk away, you just walk away with spaghetti on the wall. You'll
Mhm.
walk away understanding what we've accomplished, who you
Yeah.
are, and the best way to move forward. And then how I am facilitating that with you.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you don't get that at all, at all.
Well,
Um,
the interesting, it's like they can teach strategy or they can teach mindset or elements of it, but I think you, and I'll allow myself to take some stage on it too, blending that together is a more full recipe.
yeah,
And I am not one. nor are you to just kind of sit around and, pray or wait for things to happen. Like you gotta move. You gotta integrate the things. And you can share from your experience, Shonda, how your clients respond to the integration piece of it versus your experiences in programs that are less tangible and, kind of in this concept-based space instead.
Yeah, I one of the first things my clients get come into my program is a very long survey.
Wow. Fun.
No,
Yeah.
but the reason I do
Assessment,
that,
right?
yeah, the
Yeah.
reason I do that, and it's blended. It is blended from personal development, life skills,
Yeah.
as well as business, right? And you can't just do it and then book an appointment with me. You have to do it and give me time to review it because I'm going to
Yeah.
print it out because I'm a little older and I'm going to make all my notes on it right
Yeah.
before we have our meeting. So when I come into it, I come into it with an understanding of you,
Mhm.
what you're dealing with, where your business is, what your mindset is like, what your skill set is like,
Yeah.
what kind of business acumen do you have? Like, where are you in your journey so that I can meet you where you are? And a lot of them will appreciate it. Most of them appreciate it, honestly. But they say, you make me think about some stuff I hadn't thought about, or I didn't realize that I was dealing with that, or, you know, it was just a lot and I didn't realize I hadn't thought of all these pieces.
Mhm.
I go, it's okay, we're gonna get there. But I give my clients a client resource guide, which deals with their personal development, which is
Mhm.
just resources and tools and apps and books and things that are based strictly on the things they're struggling with that we discussed in our call. And then we work together to come up with their plan of action. And their plan of action is to get rid of the 80% of noise so they can have the 20% that they need to focus on to achieve the thing they said they wanted to achieve. Now,
Yeah.
have I had clients take it and come back and say, you know what? I looked at this and I think that we should go a different direction. I was like, and nine times out of 10, we discussed it before because I'm always going over options. And it's like, okay, well, let's see what that looks like. Let's discuss that.
Yeah.
But they more than not, they always need permission, right? And
Right.
so it's I'm the safe place for you to come and talk about all your dreams, your rainbows and your unicorns, and not make you feel funny about it, and
Yeah.
let you know that it's very possible and it's okay to dream. And
Mhm.
so once I become the safe space, I don't see it as a therapist.
Yeah.
I use- But once I become that safe space and they're comfortable and I give them permission and they start opening it up and playing with it and imagining it and they start to doing the things to bring it to life,
Mhm.
it's like the best thing ever to
Yeah.
watch something go from, I don't know, to, oh my God, I can't wait. Like, let me tell you what I did. Oh, look at this thing and it's taking shape, right?
Mhm.
And I think that is the beauty of what we do, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
It's the breathing life into the dreams and desires of the hearts of a
mhm,
version of us that used to
yeah,
be, right? Like you're living out your dreams and desires, and it was really birthed in this nonprofit that I want to give a bit more time and space to because like volunteerism and being in the community is a big piece of my heart too. But I want the listeners here to appreciate that you have leveraged off of what you have, and your initial life story was really about provision and stability for your kids. And the shift now is you can start to feed your heart and find that
right.
fulfillment that you said was lacking before. And when we combine these two things together, especially for women. Okay, yeah, I'm super biased, but we just have a different frequency. And I often say it's because little people have lived in our body. So we are far more like nurturing and adaptable and have a very different capacity than men because I don't think there's anything you can do more personal. Like even organ donations comes out of you,
Mhm.
but having something live inside you, and if you haven't had children, like you still have a womb and a life portal in you, it creates just such a more whole model for
Yeah,
people to thrive in, right? To be nurtured in.
I agree. I tell people that. I'm like the first part of my journey. It's very logical, analytical because I had to survive.
Yeah.
And that's the male, right? energy,
Yeah.
strategizing, program
Mhm.
management, order, structure. But then
Mhm.
the feminine side is me being very creative, emotional, and tuned, right? And open, right?
Yeah.
And realizing I don't have to separate the two because I'm
Mhm.
both. I am fully who I am.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and like not in a proving energy anymore. So where has that shifted your sense of your identity now showing up in this version?
I am, this sounds really crazy and almost narcissist, but I love who I am in this
Right? Great.
in this
Yes.
season. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everything I went through was definitely worth it in the
Yeah.
sense of just, you think in the moment that when you're going through the thing, that it's going to consume you and that you're never going to get past it.
Yeah.
And on the backside of it, the kids are grown, right? I got
Mhm.
grandkids. I can spoil them and send them home,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
I do often.
Yeah.
Um, that like I would not have become who I am if I had not had my journey.
Mhm.
And because my journey has equipped me and I have so many tools in my toolbox
Mhm.
that I can appreciate who I am. I can appreciate doing the work. I'm like
Mhm.
self-awareness is key to so many things.
Mhm.
Um, and so I'm okay showing up fully.
Yeah.
Like, this is who I am. This is what you get. And it could be that 50 thing, right?
Yeah.
But
But if we could use that wisdom sooner, you
oh yeah,
know, because I don't think it's narciss. I think it's the goal and the desire that I have is for women to say, I love who I am. And, especially for me, like, I am not perfect. I do not
oh,
have
for
it all
sure.
figured out. And I most certainly am not living Barbie's dream house dream life every day.
Sure.
But I am living a good, fulfilling,
Yes.
rich life, right? With beautiful people and beautiful experiences. And what you said especially, and so listeners, I'd invite you now even just to put hands on chest and stomach and like breathe in, like I love and appreciate who I am and
Oh yeah, for
really,
sure.
right? Like feel embodied in that because that's really how you can achieve goals and dreams is starting with that calm nervous system that feels full and then moving into actions that continue to enhance that state of being, right? Like, and business, I've used this tagline as such a beautiful playground for your soul to be expressed. And it sounds like how you've leveraged and packaged up your lived experience into these two key services has allowed full expression of that. So tell us about developing the blueprint and the collective and like, what was fun and what was driving the vision of those two.
The collective, Momentum Mastery Collective, is simply a community of like-minded people to find accountability and support in a place of execution, right? I think the biggest issue for most entrepreneurs is they want to do it alone.
Hmm.
And you get so bogged down alone, right? You have nobody to share your wins or your lessons learned with. And when you're in a community, whether it's a coach, a spouse, a friend, or a Facebook group, okay,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be paid, there is so much power in that, right? Having someone to turn to say, look at this great thing I did,
Hmm.
right? Or someone to say, hey, I got a question. Can you help me with this? Or someone to say, I don't know what happened here. Like I thought I had it all together, but it didn't quite go off the way I wanted. And for them to say, it's okay, right?
Yeah.
And your example you shared about the young lady who wanted to throw in a towel,
Yeah.
and they were like, no, don't give up. Like this could be your day,
Yeah.
right? And so the Momentum Mastery Collective is just that. It's a place where people can come and share. As a coach, I put a bunch of templates in there. There's a book
Right.
area there for
Yeah.
recommended reads, right?
Yeah.
Motivation in there. I tend to put podcast stuff in there.
Yeah.
But people need that on one level or another. And so I tell everybody, whether you come and join a community, mine or someone
Hmm.
else's, or you
Hmm.
go to
Hmm.
Facebook, right? Maybe
Hmm.
you don't have the funds for that. Facebook has a community for everything,
Yeah.
completely free.
Yeah.
Go in and show up and be yourself and be value added. And then if you don't want to do that, have a friend,
Hmm.
you know, have
Hmm.
a spouse. I think every one that wants to do coaching should have a coach. That's me
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
But
Well, to learn from, right? You learn from them. Like I want to talk about that for a sec because um the coaches that I've chosen over the years taught me different things, but I was choosing, like, I can see in hindsight, of course, why I was choosing them, and I would choose differently now. And so, you want to find a coach that's aligned and that has similar values. And I'm gonna, like, from my perspective, that you would want to model after in your own version,
for
right?
sure.
Yeah, like they're a good leader for you to find your way. The coaches, you guys that have had the most impact on me, um, are the ones that are faith-based and they claim it daily. Like I just really, and the more that the Lord has pulled my heart, like the more my intolerance for not appreciating him has grown. It's so supernatural. But also that they show up with this freedom to be, so I don't feel like there's any performance energy. And especially for me as an everyday woman with, the non-perfect background, which is now on purpose, but this is just how I live. I didn't stage it this way to look like this, it just is. Um, is no veil. Like I want to know this woman. I want to know her heart. I want to know her, what she's like in her day to day and have that relatability. And then I want to trust that she's not going to fill me full of googly gunk, that she's going to actually help me with my mission advancing action, right? Yeah. So are you working with anything you want to add and share from that part?
Um, that resonates 100%, and I relate. For me, I picked my coaches based on their expertise and what I was trying to learn in the space. The ones that I didn't do the research on that I just picked on a whim are
Mm,
the regrets for sure.
mm,
For sure. I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is crazy. Um, and so I think you should do your due diligence and your background and make sure that you are aligned in similar beliefs, and not necessarily lifestyles, but that they resonate with you, their
mhm,
messaging. I do a person of faith and I tend to do better with people of faith.
mhm.
So there's no um, and I'm not a judgy person anyway, but I'm not looking for you to judge me, right? So
Right.
hold me
Right.
accountable, but don't beat me over the head.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a difference. There's a difference.
Yeah.
So and build to Blueprint was designed specifically for that. I got tired of going into spaces and people throwing me a bunch of information and they're
Mhm,
charging me an arm and a leg. And
mhm,
then they're like, here's what you need to do, but not telling me how I need to do it. And it was like, okay. Um, one of my worst nightmares was they were like, oh, you need to do webinars. Okay. Well, I set everything up because I'm very type A. I'm going to get it done.
yeah.
And then I go to do webinars and it's like, how much do I need to market this?
Mm,
How much did you spend to market? 20,000.
mm.
20,000 for marketing for a month? What? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm blessed, but listen, no, no.
Yeah.
So it was just like, okay. But I feel like there's the space is missing the transparency of that. So I never want somebody to work with me and then walk away and then they're thinking they're going off to be great.
Mhm,
Either they don't know how to be great, but if they are going off to be great, it's like they're missing the pieces. And so my program is a mentorship and an accelerator where
yeah.
they're just like tuned in for 12 weeks. And
Yeah.
then they have 2 weeks of
Mhm,
execution sprints. So you're getting information, you're doing the work, and we're taking time to do more work. And then you have me to ask me questions during that time. And
yeah.
then they automatically get access to Momentum Mastery Collective, which is also contains weekly calls. So after they're
Mhm,
done working with me in that capacity, like let's lay out your entire business with your client, right? Your vision, your messaging, personal brand, because I was
mhm.
not prepared for that coming into this
Yeah.
space. I didn't need it in corporate, right?
Yeah.
Um, and it's like people don't necessarily tell you that. It's
Yeah.
like I didn't consider that when someone said, "Could you be my coach?" I was like, "Oh, I'll just show up and be a coach." Let me figure out what that looks like. And it's like, wait a minute, you need a personal brand. But you get personal branding and you get operations and workflows and SOPs, right?
Hmm.
Because that's the meat of the business that most people forget when they're excited that
Hmm.
they're jumping into business. And if their business grows and it grows quickly, it breaks
Yeah.
because they don't have the foundation. And of
Yeah.
course, sales, because sales is necessary, sales and marketing.
Yeah.
So that's what encompasses the Build to Blueprint. As I jump in this journey from government contracting, because it's a different space with different requirements, even though the skill set is there, like I said, from the strategy piece,
Hmm.
I was totally lost on everything that was required to be on this side of things.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want anybody to have that experience with me.
Yeah.
If they don't get it, it'll be because they don't want it with me.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's how that was designed. But definitely from more of the aha moments and bad experiences of figuring it out, then like, oh, okay.
I really appreciate what you said about entrepreneurs want to do it alone. And
Mm,
it's so true and annoying because it's so funny. We're completely made and meant to live in community, and community can
yeah,
be two people, just
it
two,
can too.
one and
That's what I'm
two,
saying.
Bert and Ernie on Sesame Street, just two people together. And to think that entrepreneurship, the most personal development, challenging
Yeah.
experience, can be survived. Never mind for the ambitious everyday woman who's over 40, who's working corporate and looking to transition, or just looking to add greater meaning to her life. To take this on is going to be very confronting because of the list of things you identified, including the personal brand of like,
Mhm.
who are you online outside of corporate? And having to showcase yourself, which I saw in a previous podcast, you were like, I don't really know how to do that, or who am I? How am I going to show up and be
Mhm.
authentic in that? And does it come from hypothetical question, but respond, of course, like, are entrepreneurs ego driven? Are they just such visionaries that, nothing's going to stop them? And what what are we holding on to if we think that we can figure it out on our own? What are we trying to prove?
I really think it's the picture that's been painted in the space.
Mm.
I did another podcast, and I told him, I said, people have made entrepreneurship to be sexy. I was like,
Mhm.
but if you get into what's required for it to be
Mhm.
successful, it's not really sexy because it
Mhm.
takes so much work and understanding, right? You have to kind of, like you said, have a mini degree, because nobody's telling you all of these things. Even with, I have two masters, two grad certs, a PMP and a Lean Six Sigma, coming out of corporate with all this experience. And when I stepped into this space, it was like I had to go back to school of sorts to kind of learn like what's required over here.
Mhm.
And my tenacity is like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm not one to quit. But think of all the people who don't know and they get stuck and they just said, I'm just going to throw in a towel. It didn't work. But did it really not work? Or was it your ego in the way to say
Yeah.
that you was afraid to ask for help?
Yeah.
Right. And
Mhm.
so, and that's the beauty of community,
Yeah.
like getting in a community, period,
Yeah.
where you can be vulnerable, where you can ask questions,
Yeah.
because it's similar people like you who are trying to make it also have the same questions, or someone may post about it, right? And answer your question, or there may be resources in the community to help you,
Mhm.
tools, you know, coaches. You're leveraging their experience, you're leveraging
Yeah.
that knowledge, that information. It's like, where did we go wrong to make it seem like, um, if I got to ask somebody, it means I can't do it.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, I think
Yeah.
it's really that I blame everything on social media these days. I must be old, but I
Well,
really
it's
feel
free
like,
advertising, right? Like anybody can get on their soapbox out here and make it.
well, they make it look like everything is instantaneous though, and
Yeah.
nobody's showing you the work behind it.
Yeah.
And so I think what keeps my clients coming back to me is my sweet persona.
Yeah, absolutely. Your charm.
But when they look at the amount of work that it takes, like you tell me you want to do something gigantic, I'm gonna help you build something
Yeah.
gigantic, right? But you
Yeah.
got to do the work,
Yeah.
period. Like that's non-negotiable. I'm gonna help you, but you got to get it done. You got to do the work. And I'm that, straight to the point. I'm like, I'll help you, but you're gonna get it done. Nobody's gonna do the work but you.
Hmm.
And they look at it and we go over it. And I tend to give my clients a 1 year plan of action. So you
Hmm.
have a year worth for executing, very high level,
Yeah.
and it's in 4 phases. So when
Yeah.
we go through it, I want to make sure you understand what's there. The lingo is very corporate, which is why I break it down for them. Like make sure it's to their understanding. But I'm like, these are all the things that's required for you to do this thing you said you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with this? You have any questions about this? Like, you want to refine anything? You want to change anything? This is
Hmm.
what's required, right? And people just are not doing that. They just show up with the big house, the big car, and they're like,
Hmm.
ah, I made it. Look at me. Look at my
Hmm.
clothes. Look at my house. Look at my trip, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I want that. But it's like, nobody's telling you, okay, now follow the crumbs. They're not dropping real crumbs.
They're not dropping real crumbs. No, they're not. And there is a difference between being a life coach and running a sustainable business model,
Hmm.
right? And you guys, I'll share when I was online business manager and I would get a new client, the onboarding process was all manual and I was working full time. And so I'd have to either do it later or I would get a huge stress reaction and, go into the Google Drive and try and customize and get the welcome package out in the moment. And so if I all of a sudden were landing 5 clients at a time, I'd be repeating that system, which would hijack my nervous system and keep me in a fight mode,
Yeah.
which is not a comfortable place to be in and takes a long time to recalibrate back out of, versus spending a half day building out an automation that would
Mhm.
execute on that for me. And this is where we could get lost for hours
Absolutely.
talking about. So,
I,
and a big piece for me has been simplifying systems so that they're a lot easier to implement
yeah.
and to edit. Like one thing I can't stand is 7 layers deep of an automation that you have to, you know, uh, edit something with tweezers because it's so buried. It's hard. It's harder to manipulate and change when it's that embedded. Um, but there are some basic things that help you execute so that if you guys do a webinar or like a free master, whatever, and clients come, then you can actually welcome them in, and make it easier for yourself, which is going to support your body's reaction to
Exactly.
stepping into that next level of identity and level of responsibility. And I think you'll appreciate this. Like, when we say we want to run a business, it means I'm ready to take on more work and get paid less and have less free time and more bags under my eyes. Let's go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I knew in this stage of my life I did not want to do that.
yeah,
And so I looked at the different business models and my business is completely automated.
yeah.
So mine is my actual client facing and my reports, everything else. You come into my ecosystem, you go right into the queue, right? And there's emails and there's like all different types of things. But I have a developer on contract who manages my back end.
That's
So
great.
I don't have to worry about that. And if something seems off, I go in there a few times a week, right? But
Mhm.
when something seems off, I say, hey, I need you to take a look at this because it's off. But I understand the benefit of that. So it allows me to have the capacity
Yeah.
to be creative and innovative in my business and show up as my best self for myself, my family,
Mhm.
and my clients. Um, but I didn't want to go from out of the frying pan into the fire,
Mhm.
right? I knew that at this age, I wanted balance, I wanted structure, I wanted systems. I was clear. I don't want to work a bunch of hours unnecessarily,
Mhm.
right? So how do I eliminate all of that, right?
Yeah.
Automate, delegate, and eliminate.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
necessary.
Yeah, and this is the work, right? That you were saying. And so yet again, ad nauseum, my fitness analogy. Fortunately for you, you haven't heard it 100,000 times, but it's what you were saying earlier. You're the fitness instructor, and the clients are the ones grunting, sweating, straining in the workout. And a lot of us just want to be the fitness instructor and already have, the athleticism that comes with that, but you have to do that
Mhm.
work. And so when we're starting out, a few key things and just being organized in of
Yeah.
itself, just being organized, just having a bit of structure to your Google Drive, much like you have in your house. Your house has a bedroom, a bathroom, and a kitchen, and you know what each room is for, and you don't tend to mess up the
Yeah.
activities that happen in each of those rooms. And so you kind of set your business up in a similar framework that when you bring somebody in, you're
Sure.
going to have more success in them actually taking work away from you than creating more work for you.
Mhm.
So it's just equipping yourself to serve better and your business. I think I said this maybe before we were recording, setting your business up to serve you so that you can serve others. And so
Yes.
things you've been able to accomplish in that. I want to know, where the idea for the book came from. So you guys, she's released a book, Barriers to Breakthrough. You can get it free from her website. I've downloaded it. I'm seeing your automations come in. I love seeing how women have set up their businesses and what they're doing. But you've created space to do a book, and I want to know again about the nonprofit that you mentioned earlier, and where are you going next with yourself and your biz? I know, yeah.
So here's the breakthrough. Once I got kind of a handle on my clients and some of the typical things that they're struggling with, right? It's a lot of them don't feel stuck because they don't have the knowledge, right? They get stuck because they don't have the strategies. And what I mean by strategies is time management, productivity, focus,
Yeah,
things like that. How do I execute? How do I get out of overwhelm? And so I was like, okay, let me put together a quick little tool that anybody can use and say, okay, this is me, I need this. And I think it's necessary. I am big on systems and I am big on helping people not just create a business, because I think anybody can do that, but create a business that is aligned to the season of your life so that it becomes sustainable. It's not built on burnout, right? Because we have enough of that. And so it's first, let's assess where you are mentally, where are you with strategies and your understanding, and then let's get some of those tools in there so that you can recoup some of your time and better focus on the things that matter to you so that you can spend time, doing all the freedoms that business provides. And so that was kind of the gist of the book. Something quick, get in, hit it,
yeah,
give you a tool.
yeah.
And then the nonprofit. So I lost my little brother in 2018 to gun violence. And it's crazy because it's been so long and I never know how I'm going to respond when I talk about it. I was at a news taping a week ago. They called me. I wanted a response. And I started tearing up. I was like, I'm sorry. But I lost my brother in 2018 to gun violence, and he was 27 years old. And my mom had went to meet him to take his daughter back to him because he didn't want to take her to the food store because he was going grocery shopping, which is understandable as a single dad.
Yeah.
And when she pulled up, she said she saw his feet on the ground behind the truck, and the cops had already arrived, but they hadn't put up the tape yet. And she said she just knew. And so you could imagine like a family having someone snatched away like that. Um, Someone, and for context, I always like to give context because people always wonder, like, was he a bad person? He wasn't a perfect person, but this was not on him, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Someone had broken into my mom's house a few years before, and she was able to describe him, and he knew who it was, and he went after the guy.
Mhm.
And so, years later, about 5 years later, the guy came back, and he was taking in groceries from the grocery store, and he gunned him down with an AK-47 at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And it just shattered us.
Yeah.
And I literally had just left the government and was starting as a government contractor because I wanted to pursue government contracting.
Mhm.
And I said I was going to start my business, right? And I was going to be a mogul. And when that happened, I realized how fragile life is. And it like yanked me out of hustle mode to an extent, right? Because I took on setting up a nonprofit because I wanted to serve the community where
Mhm.
he lost his life. Um, and by any means necessary, I didn't want another family to go through. And it's like if I could do it for the one.
Yeah.
Um, And so we have been going strong. I am literally in my busy season
Hmm.
uh, in honor of his life
Yeah.
because it's all to celebrate his life. And so this weekend, we're delivering dinners and gifts to children in the community on Saturday.
Hmm.
And next month, we do the homeless. And then I have a quiet little break. But we did Coast and Thanksgiving dinners, and we also do the homeless in September. Um, but that's where I got my first taste
Right.
of coaching and teaching and mentoring. We were funded by quite a few places to mentor 18 to 24-year-olds. And I stopped the program, not because it wasn't a good program, and we did have some success, but just the level of what the kids are dealing with at that age. Like so
Mhm.
many of them are dealing with mental health issues, and so many of them are dealing with housing crisis and dealing with food crisis. And um, it's like we have this program that provides resources, access to resources in the community, but most of them are not trying to go take a class or a course, right? If they don't have food for their families or they don't know where they're going to sleep.
Hmm.
And so it's like you're constantly chasing these kids who really need the help, but they can't
Right.
see that they need the help
Yeah.
because right in front of them is a fire.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't think my work is done there. I just need to figure out how to pivot it to do more. So
Right.
I'm working on that. I'm working on it.
Ah,
But yeah, so that was the thing that made me realize like I'm not really who I want to be. And even though
mhm.
I'm sure I would have did if I'd have pushed my consulting company, right? Because the
Mhm.
government has lots of money to throw at everything.
Mhm.
Um, I would have did well. I made enough money to pay my bills because I still had kids in the house.
Mhm.
And but my focus was on building my nonprofit.
Yeah.
And that was the part that kind of broke me open.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tied to my pain.
That's yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
sometimes how it gets used, right?
Yeah.
To
So,
redeem it and find healing and meaning from
yeah.
the wreckage.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's healing and serving. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and then
Recommend
just
it.
like showing up as somebody who would understand in a way that others who haven't experienced that just you can't relate at the same level would be such a feeling of being seen and of safety and
Mhm.
relatability,
For sure.
and comforting for you, I'd imagine, just to know that you're kind of using it for good, how and where you can. Yeah.
Yeah. We distributed, like I said, Coats and Thanksgiving a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And one of the young girls I met, like her mom's been coming to our programs for a few years. And she's like, I'm not gonna say her name, but she said she's in the car, you should go speak to her. And I said, what happened? She's like, I'm gonna let you tell her. So I leave from out where we're distributing coats and I go outside and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And she's like, I broke my ankle. And I said, what? And she says, I was gonna jump out the window and sneak out. And she's been in and out of juvie. This is her third time, but she has an ankle monitor, but she was still gonna sneak out.
Mhm.
She's like, I changed my mind and I fell wrong. She's like, but it's a good thing I did because the car was stolen. And had I gotten back in that car, they got caught. I'd have went back.
Mhm.
But this is like, even though I don't have the mentoring program anymore,
Mhm.
it's like, what can I do to help this young girl change the direction of her life
Mhm.
that she can make something meaningful of it and not throw it away,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so it's taking the time to care enough
Mhm.
to show up for people who feel like, you know, maybe nobody cares. Um,
Well, you're
but that
going
wasn't
back as the arrived version of who, uh, a leader and an example of where you were to what's possible, like your hope,
for
right?
sure.
You're
Yeah, for sure.
you're showing up as hope for other people who are in a situation that seems impossible to them at where they are. And you're showing them that it doesn't have to be that way, that
Sure. Yeah.
there are
I
always
think
options.
I think the essence of coaching is the same. Uh,
Mhm.
People seeing something that you know or that you have and they relate to it and they aspire to it. They know you've come across this bridge or you've traveled the same
Yeah.
journey. And they're like, well, she made it out, right? She did this hard thing.
Yeah.
Um, so absolutely. But
Yeah.
There's levels to it. Definitely levels.
Obviously, yeah. And we're all links in the chain, right? Attaching to each other to advance, to heal, to be seen. And to me, healing is an ongoing, like it's never healed. It's always in action. And that makes it safe for other people to come behind us too with their brokenness and be able to hold that without, like you were saying, without judgment, without expectation, but just to be there until they're ready to move into something else. So yeah, very, very powerful things. Very big, beautiful heart of service and bright, intelligent mind. A very enjoyable conversation. So you've got two freebies we can opt into. One is the book, one is your one-on-one tiny challenge that I'll drop the links for. And I just thank you for this beautiful conversation and sharing yourself with us in the audience.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been enjoyable on my end as well. It's always good to meet like-minded people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Beautiful. Well, thank you. Have a great rest of your day, Shonda.
you as well.
Well, that was a truly powerful and beautiful episode. I'm just always in awe and gratitude of the women that I get to meet. And Shonda is just a such a beautiful example, you guys, of what is possible. So as we close out this episode, just remember that the next version of you already lives inside you. She's there, she's alive, she's real. She's not a destination, she's a choice. She's a decision that you make in one move, in one brave moment, in one system implementation at a time, because developing yourself is also a system, sweetheart. So if this conversation stirred something in your spirit, if you felt seen, if you felt desiring of a community, you know that my heart is here for you and that I have kind of rebranded the startup school to the startup club, which now just feels like so much more fun than going back to school where we go clubbing at 8:30 a.m. on Sundays. It's a monthly membership for women who are building, who are becoming and believing for more without the overwhelm or doing it alone. So if you're craving support, strategy, and a circle of women who get it, this is your sign. Come into the Powerful Startup Club. And we're just going to have fun and take action and cry and laugh and figure things out together. The link is in the show notes. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next episode.